We dance as the city roars. Tune in loud, turn up some more. Cincinnati show, it's time to play. Sports with strawberry ice today. 5:30 sharp, don't be late. CTV, the sports awaits. Strawberry ice, he's on the mic, energy, it's pure delight. Every touchdown, every goal. Feel the pulse, it's in your soul. Cincinnati heartbeats strong. Strawberry ice will lead the throng. Every touchdown, every goal. Feel the pulse, it's in your soul. Cincinnati heartbeats strong. Strawberry ice will lead the throng. Feel the crowd, it's electric now. Shouting loud, they all know how. The CTV got what we crave. Sports with ice, it's waves and waves. Tigers strike and Bengals roar. Every game we want some more. Tune it in and feel the thrill. Strawberry ice, he's giving chills. 5:30 sharp, don't be late. CTV, the sports awaits. Strawberry ice, he's on the mic, energy, it's pure delight.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the show. This is Sports with Strawberry Ice. I'm your host, Iceman Jeff Trunapole. And as always, I'm bringing you sports from a West Side point of view right here in the great city of Cincinnati, Ohio. And as always, except for tomorrow night, I am coming to you live from the Ice Cave. And the Ice Cave is brought to you by Priority Lawn and Landscaping. If you got some grass you don't want to cut, some flower beds you want cleaned out, mulched, just, I don't know, paper patio done, anything lawn and landscaping related, do me a favor. Think Priority Lawn and Landscaping. Not only think that, give them a call, 513-430-6114. That's 513-430-6114. You can follow them on Facebook, and when you guys contact them, tell them Ice sent you. What is up to everybody in the chat? We got Brad in there, Strangers in there, Chandler's in there, Tony Blazin, Paul Painter, and Crypt Keeper. What is up? All right, boys and girls, tomorrow night is the draft. I will be doing my live podcast starting at 7 o'clock. So it won't be the usual 5:30. It'll be 7 o'clock tomorrow night. We're coming to you live from the, I almost said Marlin Log House, from Mount Lookout Tavern. Before that, if you guys want to show up there early, we'll be doing Bengals trivia. And we have a very, very unique prize pack. Now, we'll give away some of this during the trivia, some of this during the draft. But we got a Jamar Chase jersey that we'll be giving out, along with a Jamar Chase t-shirt, all brought to you by Miller Lite. We got some Miller Lite swag we'll be giving away too, along with we got tickets to the Logan Wilson Celebrity Softball, which I can't even find. Where'd that graphic go? I must have got rid of that graphic. Why did I do that? I didn't notice that. But Celebrity Softball charity event. I have 2 tickets that I'll be giving away tomorrow night at the draft. So make sure you guys show up. Again, the Bengals trivia starts at 6. My podcast starts at 7. Tyson Anderson, Bengals safety, be there. Bengals legend David Fulcher will be there. Gold Star Chili. It's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you guys show up. There's other stuff. Oh, Boyle Chains is going to be there. He's the one giving away. He's the one who makes these, which these are awesome. He'll be giving, or getting, we can win some of those. It's going to be an absolute blast. So just show up. Have some fun. It's free. I mean, you buy your drink, buy your food. It's going to be awesome, though. Join us there, like I said, starting at 6. And then the next day, I'll be at Project Game Day. Can't get any tickets anymore. It's done. But just want to give it a shout anyway. It's going to be fun. They start at 6 p.m. Goes till 11. Jordan Battle's going to be there. It's going to be an awesome, awesome time. I am so excited about the draft. I'm like, I was telling the guys off the air, I said, I'm not draft talked out yet, but I'm getting there. I'm ready to get this thing going. I want Walter Nolan at 17. And these guys are going to tell me I'm right. Probably not. But let's get to the Gridiron Grading, boys. What is up, Andrew and Ryan? What's going on, boys?
Hey, Jeff. Good to see you again. Thank you so much for having us on.
No problem. No problem. So where are we at Am I getting what I want? I know you guys aren't big, already know.
Christmas is coming up.
Christmas is coming up. Am I getting Walter Nolan?
That's something that.
It's a good question.
Yeah, I think that's something that Andrew and I are definitely looking forward to. That's a name that we've been highlighting a lot, but a lot of the news today seems to suggest that guys like Kelvin Banks and Walter Nolan, some favorites of ours that we've been highlighting recently, are, who knows, maybe locks for the top 10. So it might be time for the team and even time for Andrew and I to sort of pivot on that messaging of who might be there at 17.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I think Ryan and I were talking before this. I think we might be moving towards a situation here where edge is in play. That's changed since the last time we talked.
Like
a lot of talk
Green?
about Walter Nolan.
Yeah.
I think Green might be a little lower. I'm thinking Shamar Stewart.
I've heard that name a lot. Yeah.
James Pierce, I think, could be options there. So if I were to take my guess early on in the show, I think Shamar Stewart would be my bet.
That's what I heard a lot. Stewart and Pace. Those are ones I've heard here lately. But I mean, it's 24 hours, less 12 hours, 4 hours for the draft. It's smoke show, dude. Everybody said, "Oh, we're going to draft this." I'm like, we'll have to wait and see. It's going to be interesting. But that's the fun thing about the draft and trying to figure out who's going to go where. I mean, it's still the interesting thing to me. We talked about this last time is the quarterbacks. Is where are they going to go? And what I'm getting worried. Which we talked about Shedeur Sanders and how you guys feel about it, but do you think he'd drop all the way to the Steelers?
I think it's a legitimate possibility, but one thing we know is that, the NFL is always going to overdraft quarterbacks regardless of their talent, just because of how important that position is. So even though our board might have a later first-round grade on a guy like Shedeur Sanders, or even an early second-round grade on the player out of Alabama, Jalen Milroe, there are always, like you said, smoke shows and sort of mysterious things that happen to where there very well could only be one quarterback by the time the Steelers pick rolls around. And who knows, there could be three already gone by the time that pick comes. So it's been a long time, too, since we've had a trade for any draft picks in this draft, especially one in the first round. So that's always something to keep an eye out, too. But yeah, I think we're in the same spot as you are, Jeff, where we're kind of hoping that more quarterbacks go before 17 than don't.
Exactly. Now, another one I think I'll throw out there for is another one that's kind of coming in more, and I'm thinking it could be a possibility is safety. Sparks. Would he? Do you think there's a chance that the Bengals could draft a safety at 17? Because there are some pretty good ones there, and we do need a safety.
I think it's a possibility. I would put it pretty low on the odds list. Obviously, I don't know specifically what's going on in those conversations, but I think they're going to place premium positions a little bit higher. That's how they tend to draft. Safety doesn't fall in that vein. I think when that safety decision was pulled on Dax Hill, they were desperate at that point in time. I don't know if I'd call where they're at today desperate, because if I think about it right now, I'd feel more comfortable with the safeties they have there than the pass rush, certainly the pass protection. And so if I were stacking the board, I think in terms of just talent and positional need, safety's tough for me to come to. I would expect that if Walter Nolan's not there, Kelvin Banks isn't there, that it would default to that edge group, whether that's, again, Shamar Stewart, James Pierce.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I don't the part that two things that scare me. They're both on the defense. Is linebacker, because I don't know if they're James Rapine was on Bengals and Brewers, and he was talking about that they might keep I can't think of the Bengals linebacker now.
Jermaine Pratt.
Thank you, Pratt. I want to say Pace. Jermaine Pratt. That they might keep him now. It's kind of what he was, I think, saying. I was watching a little before we started here. And that's interesting to me, because that's been my fear is if they let Pratt go, then you got Logan Wilson and you got the guy from the Eagles they signed, and then you got a bunch of younger players there. So linebacker has always been kind of a one for me, and edge and interior defensive line. And then you got the guards. So that's like those are my big ones right there that I want the Bengals to hopefully solidify or fix. But speaking of the guard here, this is my dream scenario. Like I thought, I want Nolan at 7. My dream scenario. Kate Rutledge at 49. I've asked everybody I had the show on this. Is this realistic, or am I just blowing smoke up my own ass?
Andrew and I were actually having this conversation a couple weeks ago because we're really high on Tate Ratledge. He's a top 25 player for us on the board, but each and every single week, it seems like consensus values him differently. Sometimes people think that he's not even going to be available at 49, but then recent mock drafts and recent big boards seem to think he's going to go in that 65 to 75 range, which is kind of close to 81. So, I mean, I definitely think it's a possibility now to where you can target defensive line in that first round and some type of interior offensive line in the second round. With all the smoke we're hearing today, we can't necessarily guarantee it's going to be Nolan and Ratledge specifically. But Andrew and I kind of agree. A couple weeks ago, we would have said it's offensive line in the first round, defensive line in the second round. But just with the strength of the class and how everything seems to be shaping up, call it drafting for need over drafting for value. But it seems like a better idea to target that interior defensive lineman in the first round and then loop on back at 49 and even maybe double dip at 81 for your future tackle and your future interior offensive lineman.
Exactly. And I like the idea that Ratledge played with Mims, and then if Cody Ford is your left guard, he played college with Orlando Brown. So hopefully there's some cohesiveness there. I've got a question from Dustin Croft. He said, where would you guys be at if Jalen Walker fell to 17? He tore Banks up this year.
Jalen Walker hasn't even come up in conversations. We're pretty low on Jalen Walker. He's kind of a tweener player. He played edge and linebacker at Georgia. He wasn't very good at either of them. So you're making a massive projection there and relying on Al Golden to figure out how to use him. So that's the struggle and a reason he would be lower for me. I would hope that he's not an option there just because I think he plays both. He isn't especially good at both, and that makes it difficult off the bat. For a team that needs somebody that can play and make an impact right away, I'd like somebody who has proved it in college at one spot, and so that's where Walker falls off for us.
And I got one here. Brent says here he hopes we get Mike Green. On the field, Mike Green looks great. It's just the off the field crap that I don't want any of that this year. I don't want the Trey Hendrickson headache right now. Not that we'll get rid of Trey. I want to sign Trey. I want that done. I don't want any off the field stuff. That's the only reason I would not go after Mike Green. What is your guys' thoughts on Green? Do you think he's going to go? Is the off the field stuff going to make him drop to 17 or lower, or what do you guys think? Where's he at?
Yeah. A lot of what we're hearing and seeing is that a team like the Falcons at 15 are potentially in on players like Mike Green and James Pierce Jr. So I think in terms of true talent, he's absolutely a player that belongs in that top 15 range for what he's done on the field. But there's a difference when you're evaluating sort of off the field concerns, whether it's someone being a little bit more introverted or maybe you call them lazy versus someone that's dealing with pretty significant criminal accusations. But one thing that the NFL has shown us is that there's always a certain breaking point to where the on-field talent kind of outweighs those character concerns. And whether it's at 17 for the Bengals or maybe a team drafting in the late 20s like the Ravens, for example, there will come a point in time where the value for that on-field production is honestly just too strong to really pass him up at that point. So do we think the Bengals are going to do it? Probably not, especially since they got burned with the Jermaine Burton selection last year. But in a vacuum, he's a great player. What he does on the field is absolutely worthy of 17 overall. But yeah, you sort of get those complicating factors that Andrew and I aren't in the room. We don't really know what's going on with those conversations. So for the sake of where we think the team is headed, it's probably a safer bet to assume he's off the board at this point.
Yeah, I think the Bengals are going to go back to more what they did best when they were hitting on drafts is team captains, solid players, solid individuals, stuff like that. All right, Gregory here. Got a long one here. Best indicator of success first-year defensive line, tackle, or edge is production their senior year. Miles Murphy had all the measures but low production his senior year. Who of the defensive line have the top production this senior year?
Heck yeah, Gregory. I love that. Production is the top predictor. And I think when you think about guys at the top that are in that vein, it would be a James Pierce, who Ryan just talked about there, Mike Green. Those are the guys early on that have the production that we would be willing to draft. I think Donovan Ezeraku out of Boston College, another guy who was productive in college. 17 might be a little bit early, but at the end of round 1 for a team, early round 2, that's great. I think another guy, David Walker, is highest for us in terms of production. That would be a mid-round type of guy, but I'm fully on board that they need to target a productive edge rusher or interior defensive lineman. If they want to get that pass rush up and they're going to rely on the draft for it, a guy like Shamar Stewart's not going to be that guy. Landon Jackson from Arkansas is not going to be that guy. Those are longer-term bets, and so, yeah, I default to that as well. Let's get somebody who produced in college.
They need impact. That's why I keep going back to Walter Nolan. That's what I keep going back to. Because the Bengals put themselves in this position. They can't wait to develop somebody. All right, Dustin, would Nolan be worth actually trading up for? I think you would have to hop on in front of San Francisco. They always invest heavily in draft capital in the D-line and have to replace lots of players out there. Dustin, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell Dale the same thing. Stop saying that. They're speaking into existence that the 49ers, secondary is going to take Nolan. Go ahead. What do you guys think?
Yeah. The easiest answer to that question is that it's unfortunately team specific. We currently have Nolan at 20th overall on our board, but he's our interior defensive lineman too after Mason Graham. So just based on position scarcity, if that pushes him up into the top 15 or the top 10, we could absolutely understand that type of selection. But if you're a team like the Bengals picking at 17 and you only have 6 draft picks in this entire draft class, you're going to be either leveraging a lot of what you have this year or dipping into the draft picks you have in future years to try and get that done. And for a roster that has so many needs because of what they failed to address in free agency, even if there's a player that one would consider worth trading up for, it just seems to be too difficult to sort of leverage both that short and that long-term future for one specific player. Because as much as we love this team and we love what this offense can do, there's always a question about the defense giving up 49 points to the offense's 48, and you can't really leverage that just for one player. So in a vacuum, why not? Walter Nolan's a great player, but for the Bengals specifically, it just doesn't make sense to be trading up in that first round this year.
Yeah, I don't see them trading up or down, especially the first round. If anything, they might trade in the second round. That's what I think. They don't have enough assets to give up to get up there, I think, and they're not drafting high enough to move high enough. Anyway, this has nothing to do with what we're talking about. But Priscilla wants to who he thinks will win the NBA Finals. Cleveland Cavaliers. That's who I think. I don't know. We'll see. All right, guys. So, do you think now there's lots of trade talk here with the Giants and the Browns? Do you guys think that's just a bunch of smoke? Do you think they're actually going to stick and stay where they're at, or are we going to legitimately have a trade here? Somebody going to trade up to try to get one of these quarterbacks, or Travis Hunter, or the kid from Penn State. Escapes my mind now, but anyway, what do you guys think? Will there be big time trades at the top of this draft?
Are you talking, I guess, round 1?
Yeah. Sorry, round 1. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think one team that's been surfacing is the Bears, specifically, that might be interested in trading up from 10. I think if they were doing that, it's probably for Ashton Genty. They're one team. I think the Jaguars are one of the turning points early in the draft. With the new GM there, James Gladstone, they have a lot of draft capital. Could see them moving around because I think outside of the top 4 or so, there is open to interpretation who you want to go and which route you want to go. So I think the Bears and Jaguars are the 2 turning points early that could change the way the draft looks. If you get to the end of round 1, then I think you're starting to the Giants and Browns point you made there, Jeff. You could be seeing them trade back into round 1. We see that with quarterbacks sometimes, specifically if you really like a guy, you want to get that extra year on the rookie contract, that 5th-year option. You see teams trading up for guys they really like towards the end of round 1. So I don't know. It could be interesting. I think one thing as I think about the Bengals pick often, I wonder if somebody would be able to trade up that far. It's kind of a far-fetched option.
That's a long way to get up there. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I agree with that. It is a far way. But as I think about potential trade backs, it would have to be something crazy like that.
I'm not sure what happened there, but all of a sudden you look like you're getting possessed. your
I
camera's
lost,
going
I lost you as well.
okay, going really slow and everything. Freaking internet, that's what happens.
We'll have to figure that
out. Dustin, back to the Nolan topic here. Where do you guys have Nolan rated compared to Newton? I can't say that part. Last year, for reference, Nolan has 2 sacks last year and 515 snaps. Now, this is a reference because Dale, our boy from Bengals and Brews, loved Josh Newton. So, okay.
Yeah, so Andrew actually put together a really awesome chart earlier this week that looks at our top 40 graded interior defensive linemen since the 2020 draft class, because that's really when we started to evaluate all of these prospects. And Walter Nolan comes in as our 7th highest graded interior defensive lineman in that span, finishes with an 84.2 grade, which is sort of a solid late 20s-ish pick in the first round. And then Johnny Newton finishes as our 13th overall interior defensive lineman in that same time period. A grade of 80.7, which puts him firmly in the second round. So even though the grades seem a little bit far away by about 3.5 points, there is somewhat of a similarity, I'd say. But I think the thing that really stands out to us from a Walter Nolan versus a Johnny Newton is that Walter Nolan had better production in college, especially during that final year at Ole Miss. And Walter Nolan's also a better athlete. And I think that's something that matters a lot when you're looking for those full profiles at the top of the draft, especially in the first round. One thing that we will say, too, is that sacks aren't always the greatest indicator of a player's success. One thing that we really lean on is pass rush win rate, because defensive linemen can impact the game in so many more ways than just bringing the quarterback down. And if you have someone like Nolan that's collapsing the pocket from the interior and an incredible player like Trey Hendrickson on the edge to sort of clean up that sack, it's not necessarily going to show up in Walter Nolan's box score. So if you're a Johnny Newton fan now and you were a Johnny Newton fan last year, still a very good player, would definitely not look at those sack numbers to sort of determine if he's a success in the NFL just yet, especially with only 1 year under his belt.
I mean, I like Walter Nolan because I think it could be like what we had when we had Gino here. I mean, it was that's the pressure up the middle, and then you had Dunlap and Johnson. They were coming out from the outside. That's where I think this could get to that again. We'll see. I have let me just I have 435 people watch us live. I want to plug something here. I got my draft party tomorrow night. If you guys are in the city of Cincinnati, we'll be starting Bengals trivia at 6 o'clock at Mount Lookout Tavern. It is Mount Lookout Square. Live podcast tomorrow at 7 o'clock. I got Bengals safety Tyson Anderson on there. Bengals legend David Fulcher is going to be there. We're giving away lots of prizes through Bengals trivia all throughout tonight. We got Jamar Chase jersey. We're giving away a Chase t-shirt, Miller Lite swag. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So if you're in the area, you're looking for someplace to come watch the draft, come to Mount Lookout Tavern. I highly recommend it. I see. Augie. Let's get let's get this one. All right. Who is a guy you would like us to draft, but could wind up on a division rivalry? It sucks, and I hate it when it happens. All three of you guys, thoughts, please.
I'm happy to go again at the risk of sounding like I'm in outer space, so cut me off.
Go for it.
I think you're probably looking at defensive tackles. I think Derek Harmon is one guy that Bengals fans have been on. I think I'll make him as my projection here, potentially going to the Steelers. I think that could make a lot of sense there. That would be my guess if you're looking at it. And then, I mean, the Ravens are always taking the guys that are at the top of our best players available list. So
Leonard Baum is still a freaking ratbird. Damn it.
Kyle Hamilton. Anybody you've really liked to the Ravens.
You cut out there the last part. What was that, Andrew?
I was just saying anybody that you might really like going to the Ravens would be my guess.
Yeah. Ryan, what do you got?
I think Andrew hit on a lot of the good ones, but specifically when you think of Baltimore and the scheme they run, they always have those pass rushing linebacker edge types that always really wreak havoc. I know they've done a lot of great work with Jadeveon Clowney and Kyle Van Noy recently. So if either of James Pierce Jr. or Mike Green make it to the Ravens in that late 20s pick, they're a team that I'd be super scared of taking a swing on someone that might have some of those character or off the field concerns and then magically bringing out the best of their potential and wreaking havoc on Orlando Brown Jr. and Amarius Mims for years to come. So those are names that I think would definitely concern me if they're starting to drop out of the board.
All right, Dustin's back on this Newton thing in here. Newton finished with 62 pass rush grade last year from her PFF. So not terrible, but not great. Prior fitting for his second round pick last year. Hunter, what's Gridiron Grading's top 5 pick for the Bengals at 17 and a top pick for you guys for a top pick you guys would boo? I got it now.
Yeah, so we actually put out a tweet recently sort of stacking the Bengals board based on the players that might be available in that 14 to 28 range on the consensus board. And we can all debate on the order in which we'd have these players, but just to throw 5 names out there, I think the kind of players we'd be super excited about would be Walter Nolan, the interior defensive lineman out of Ole Miss, someone we've spoken a lot about today, and Jeff, obviously.
I love the guy. I want him.
I mean, a great player, and especially with how few really good D tackles there are in this class.
Someone that for us again. That's what I keep saying. That's
absolutely, and someone that we'd probably put at the top of the board for the Bengals specifically. But Kelvin Banks Jr., the offensive tackle out of Texas, is someone that we're super high on. If he makes it to 17, he's the kind of player that we feel you can kick inside for 1 or 2 years, and then depending on what happens with Orlando Brown Jr., you feel comfortable moving Banks back out to left tackle if that's where you want him. To rehash a couple of names we already mentioned too, off the field concerns aside, just purely as prospects, James Pierce Jr. and Mike Green will add some really good pass rushing juice to that edge group that really no one else brings to the table outside of Trey Hendrickson. And then just to throw one sort of last name in there too, I know we've been a little bit lower on Derek Harmon. Some of the analytical comparables aren't as favorable as what you might see with a Walter Nolan. But again, he's a really good pass rushing interior defensive lineman. And that's another great player that we think could have an instant impact for the Bengals.
Who's the one you would boo if you'd be pissed off that they drafted him?
Yeah, I think it kind of fits the mold of what we've seen for a lot of their recent first-round draft picks, and that's guys who are incredible athletes but just really haven't put it together on the field in their collegiate career. So you're looking at a Michael Williams, the edge player out of Georgia. You're looking at a Shamar Stewart, the edge player out of Texas A&M. And then I know Malachi Starks is another name that a lot of Bengals fans seem to be super high on, but he does not grade out well for us in our process. And that's another player, despite being a captain and for an SEC national championship team, just doesn't really hit the mark for us. So those are 3 players that would definitely not grade well based on how our board shaped out. And we wouldn't be thrilled as analysts, and we definitely wouldn't be thrilled as fans.
All right. Dustin's got a hot take. My hot take on the draft is Loveland gets drafted before Warner due to his pure athleticism, polish, and route running. Love to see. Greg here. Beyond production, who's the best football player, i.e. loves football, game leader of the edge and tackles?
It's kind of hard for us to speak to that because we're not in the rooms with these teams and with these players, asking them the interview questions and evaluating their character. I think it's safe to assume that unless there is some really big news coming out about a player's commitment to the game or their love of football, that all of the top players in this draft are absolutely dialed in and are ready to make this their career, and they absolutely love the game. So that's something that we can't really evaluate and quantify, so it doesn't make its way into the board. But I think you can feel confident that teams are out there and they're doing their due diligence and the homework on these players. And especially in the first round, they're not going to be willing to take a player that doesn't love the game. So I don't think that should be a concern for any fan out there that they're going to take someone in the first round that just absolutely is only looking to cash in for a paycheck.
All right. Let's see. Dustin here. Nick, I always mess his name. Emmanuel, you can see his name. Is a perfect freaking fit for AFC North. What you guys' thoughts on him? Go ahead, Andrew.
I was waiting for the reintroduction. Luckily, I wasn't on the clock on the draft, we would end up with
I was just going to go smooth transition. That you just pop back and in all your glory.
Reintroducing right to Mickey Monwari. Yeah, I mean, it would be a really good fit. I think, he fits that style. He's a safety, a box safety primarily. I think he could play the hybrid safety and linebacker role. So he's ahead of Starks for us. I think he would be a reasonable option at 17. Wouldn't be mad at that. Would prefer it over some of the unproductive edge players. So they wanted to add a guy like that. I think it would fit downhill. Can get to the ball. I would like that pick. Freak of an athlete. And he did have a better production profile than I think people give him credit for.
All right, so I asked you this last week. I'll ask you again this week, see if it's changed any. But do you think there's going to be a surprise in this draft? A surprise team trading up, a surprise pick higher than you guys are projecting? I mean, there's always something, or somebody going to drop, almost out of the first round. What's you guys pulse on this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's always things in the draft that no one can predict, not even the guys that are the most plugged in with the league, and definitely not myself and Andrew. So I don't think we can sit here and kind of put out a specific team or a specific name, but it really is different compared to previous years to be so close to the draft without having had a trade in the first round or something mind-blowing even in the middle of the rounds. Mm-hmm. Yeah, nothing. It's so quiet despite all of the smoke being thrown around. So I think Andrew mentioned the Bears earlier. That's absolutely a team that, with the roster they have, seems willing to trade up and make a splash impact, whether that's for an Ashton Ginty or for their offensive lineman of choice. And especially when you're looking at the offensive and defensive line groups, there's always someone that we have graded in the 40 to 60 range that a team absolutely falls in love with and probably takes in the 20 to 32 range. So that kind of pick might not grade well on our board, but it's something we see every year. So as surprising as it might be in the moment, when you take a step back, it's definitely not surprising given the trends that we've seen in the draft over at least the past 5 or 6 years that Andrew and I have been doing this.
All right, I got 522 people watching this live right now. So tell everybody where they can find your stuff. If you got your big board out and anything new coming out here within the next 24 hours.
I'm going to defer to you here, Ryan.
Yeah, so everyone can follow us over on X at Gridiron Grading. That's our primary platform. That's where we put out 99% of all of our content. We recently just released the link to our Google Sheet big board this year, which, thank you to Andrew and all of his graphics, looks absolutely incredible. If you want to support us that little extra step further, we put out a brand new web app, which is completely filterable. So if you want to look for offensive and defensive linemen in the second and third rounds with production scores above 70 and athleticism above 80, you can absolutely do that on our web app. That's going to be available on our Patreon, which is Gridiron_Grading. I know a lot of people freak out when you hear Patreon, but we promise it is absolutely free. Like we said last time, Jeff, when we DM links to people over and over again, Twitter thinks we are just like Andrew today, and we're bots out there. Yeah. So they do us a little bit dirty and they lock our account. So that's why we moved it over to Patreon this year. But that's a long way of saying, at Gridiron Grading on X, Gridiron_Grading on Patreon. All of our stuff is free. We do this for the love of the draft, and we're just happy to be able to share it with your audience, Jeff, and with you specifically.
Absolutely. And we know Andrew is a robot. We just saw him earlier today. It froze.
Yeah, kind of freaking out a little bit.
When you talk about data too much, you get that as well.
All right. Let's see here. All right. People are Dustin Cruff here. Nick Inimore. I got it. I'll get it. I think draft him. I'll get it right. You would have to move away of just looking at him as a safety. I feel like he would be instant impact in this division. He was pretty darn great in coverage last year. So that's more of a comment.
Yeah.
Good, Andrew. Got some more? Good.
No, not too much to add. Yeah, I think he was better in coverage than people give him credit for. I don't think he's just a box safety. I think he could be pretty dynamic as kind of in the mold of a really good coverage linebacker, but better at coming downhill than most safeties that you would see in this class.
He's got another hot take here. It says Essen Jetty ends up having the most productive career out of the day two guys. I got him some Latu.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. I mean, Ashton Gillott's a good player, very incredible athlete. One thing that he doesn't really compare to Latu is that sort of career production on the field. Latu, we knew, was an absolute menace, especially when rushing the passer. And I think that's why you saw him get drafted so early. And one thing that Andrew and I keep pounding the table for is that you want productive players in the NFL who were productive in college. So if that's where you want to plant your flag, absolutely fine. 70th overall player on our board. But I definitely think that's a lofty comparison looking at the 2 years back to back.
I think something that we haven't talked about enough, you think of a guy like Ashton Gillotti. Yes, he's an edge, but there are a lot of edges in this class that are, we'll call them much denser. They're a little squattier, not nearly as lean as a guy like Latu. Think of an Elijah Roberts from SMU, Barron Sorrell from Texas, Ashton Gillotti from Louisville. These are guys that, yes, they are technically edges, but they're guys who also can come inside on pass rushing downs. So when we look at a guy like that, the interior defensive line class does fall off, but it is deep on the edge. And so I look at a guy like Gillotti as a guy that you could draft in round 3, and I think it would be a pretty exciting pick, but he can also rush the passer from inside. So I think there are a lot of guys in this class where it makes a lot more sense to draft from that pool of players than it does to go way down your board at interior defensive line. But I think they can offer you a lot of the same for what the Bengals need specifically, because their defensive tackles are not pass rushers. So if you can get a guy who can come inside on third down, play outside against the run on first and second down, yeah, I would expect that they draft a player like that. I think Paul Dehner from The Athletic mocked Barron Sorrell. I think that makes plenty of sense as a fit out of Texas, and Gillotti profiles in that same way.
Yes, Crypt Keeper. Dustin using hard words on purpose. Exactly. They know I can't read. Christopher here. Chances Bengals take Dante Thornton, wide receiver, Tennessee, 4th round. I would say no. Well, I think it's defense. But what do you guys think?
Yeah. I mean, with only a limited selection of picks, I think it's difficult to imagine this team taking a wide receiver, especially when you have Chase and Higgins under extension. You have Mike Gesicki, who a lot of people consider the de facto wide receiver 3. And then you also still have Yoshivas in that room, who that's someone Andrew and I, especially as a draft prospect, were much higher on than the media. And despite what some people say, has been really productive to start his career. And you can reserve your thoughts about Jermaine Burton, given what's gone on the field, but he's still on the roster. He's still under contract. And again, we don't condone anything that's gone on, but that doesn't change the fact that when he was drafting in the 3rd round, he had arguably 1st-round talent as far as wide receiver production was concerned. So if Dante Thornton Jr. out of Tennessee is the wide receiver the Bengals love, I'm sure maybe that's something they could make happen, but we would feel a lot more comfortable with that in the 5th or 6th round. And we honestly think that this is a draft where the team comes away with maybe taking no skill position players unless it's a later running back or a later tight end, without even touching that wide receiver group.
Yeah, I think there's a better chance they take a running back or a tight end than a wide receiver. And I agree with you. They haven't cut Burton. They drafted him. I mean, if he can never get himself together, he can be a hell of a 3rd or 4th wide receiver for us. That's a game. I mean, I get goosebumps just thinking of what he could do and could be to this offense if he gets himself together. I mean, it would be unfreaking believable. So, yeah, I don't see them drafting a wide receiver. But tight end, that is an interesting one. If they do, I mean, I think it's going to be. I think they might, because you got, like you said, you got Mike G, who's he's the tight end, but he's more of a 3rd wide receiver, and you got Sample, and with the injury to Eric All, I mean, they got a lot of guys. And not McCluskey, the guy they drafted last year.
Tanner
McLaughlin, thank you. I mean, I'd like to see what he can do, but I wouldn't put it past him to draft one in probably, I'd say, the 5th or 6th. I mean, if there's one there that they like. What do you guys think about tight ends? Do you think they'll add this? Because, I mean, that would be a lot of tight ends if they added another one. They do have a lot of tight ends in that room already, but you don't really have, like, Eric All was the guy. He was the tight end. They don't have the tight end, that can do everything.
I think if there's a real faller, might make sense, like Terrence Ferguson out of Oregon at 81. I don't expect them to prioritize it, though. I could see a guy in round 5, round 6, Gunnar Helm from Texas, potentially, although that's not overly exciting. I don't think it's a position they'll prioritize, though.
No.
Unless I think these positions like running back, tight end, that can be moved up the pecking order if they're able to add extra picks. But
Right.
I wouldn't expect it in the first 3 rounds at least. I think they've already kind of pigeonholed and targeted where they're going to go there, and that's in the trenches and then linebacker, I think, as well.
Yeah, this draft, I mean, we keep talking about trading up, trading back. I really, in my gut, I don't see them trading. I think they're going to go straight 6 picks, and that's it. I mean, unless something comes their way, because I don't know. I just the way that's the way this draft, the way this offseason has felt. They're just going to go draft the best 6 guys they can and go for it. But
if that happens, I think we can all pray and hope they change in the way they approach undrafted free agents. That's one area I think they could gain a competitive advantage. We see teams do this by giving just a little bit more guaranteed cash. And I know it's not historically what the Bengals like to do, but when you're talking about undrafted free agents, we're not talking about huge sums of money.
Right.
And that can be the game changer, especially in a class like this, between getting a guy who might have a round 4 grade that falls out of this class. And I think that will happen this year because there's tons of depth. High end's not as great, but I really hope if that's the case, Jeff, they use undrafted free agency in a really meaningful, like money ball style type of way. I think that could pay off.
And that's a good point, because I mean, with 6 picks, they should do that. Because they're going to need more bodies, more potential players, and like you said, with this draft being so deep, there are going to be guys dropping out. It would be a smart thing to do. I hope they do that, but I don't know. But it's a great point. That's what they look at that way. Augie, where is Shamar? I think we were talking about this. Projected right now. A couple months ago, he was late first. Has he dropped to second day pick now?
He's a pretty divisive player. I mean, there's a lot to bet on with the elite athleticism he shows, but I think teams are starting to learn that the more and more you make those picks where you have an elite athlete that hasn't produced on the field, the more and more you get burned. So, I mean, there's a realistic possibility he goes in the mid-first round, but we could also understand if he's hanging around there for the early second round. So, I mean, is that a big difference? You're maybe talking about a swing of 25 to 30 picks. In the grand scheme of things, not really, but yeah, I think his value is somewhere around that late first, early second, talking about that 25 to 40 range, depending on how much a team is willing to bet on those athletic traits and kind of overlook the lack of production on the field.
And Dustin, go back to the unrestricted free agents. Bengals have actually done pretty good at UDFA, Kirkland, Haywood, and Meta. But they have a like I said, this would be the year to do more. It's kind of what we're saying is to bring more of them in here because we only got 6 picks.
Right. I think with those guys, you're talking about guys who graded as undrafted free agents that they signed. We're talking more, can you go sign the guy that was a projected 4th round pick that didn't get drafted and give him some money? Because teams around the league do that. The Bengals don't.
Wayne wants to know, why are you guys not in the Bengals scouting department? I mean, come on. You should get hired.
I don't know, Ryan, why aren't you?
There are many reasons why, but I mean, you're more than welcome to tag the Bengals on our posts. Some people do. Hasn't seemed to caught their attention yet, but who knows? Last year we projected Amarius Mims, Matt Lee, and Chris Jenkins to the Bengals, so maybe they are using what we're putting out there. That would be pretty cool.
They're stealing your shit going, that's what we're going to use.
It is free. I mean, it's free.
There you go. Augie here. You guys think it would be wise or dumb for us to take running back a 3rd to 5th round pick? I think Cam Scattaboo, who I love, is a tailor-made for the AFC North football compliment to Chase. I love Scattaboo. I fell in love with that dude. I mean, but I don't. If he's there in the 5th or 6th, I'd like to take him, but I don't know if he's gonna last that long. What do you guys think?
I think it's wise in this class. There's going to be guys who have 2nd and 3rd round grades that are there in round 4 and round 5. So, yeah, I think that'll be a sweet spot in this draft. I think running back in the mid rounds, and Scattaboo's one of them. He has an early round 2 grade for us. If you can get him in
dude. He's a
round
dog.
4, Heck yeah, he'd be a lot of fun.
Oh, dude, I'd be the stands going, Scatterboo!
He's going to be a fan favorite wherever he goes. He knocked his mic out.
The excitement was too much, Jeff. You absolutely took out your power.
I took my mic out of him.
Now you're in outer space.
Oh, my God. Hold on a second. Yeah, gotta change everything here.
It was my turn earlier, but here we are.
Well, it's worse when it's me. Because I'm the host. How's that? That better?
Much better. Yeah, we're rocking with you.
Oh, yeah, see, I got excited about Scatterboo and that my own mic out. It happens.
But the stadium will look like that next year at Paycor, I'm sure.
It'll be awesome. Hopefully we get that. That would be awesome. Now, a stranger hates this pick. He says it every time. He goes, I love Scatterboo, but he's a terrible pass blocker, which makes him a terrible fit for the Bengals. But he's a great catcher of the ball out of the backfield. And that fits the Bengals offense. I get the pass rush thing, I know, but that's why we got P. Ryan there, so he can do
there aren't a lot of running backs that come out of college that are really good pass blockers.
Right.
It's a complete lost art. So you could go through this class, you'll find 35 of them that you say they're a terrible pass blocker.
Yeah.
There's like one or two really good ones, and I don't know, where they're going to go in the draft probably falls out of Cincinnati's range.
Probably. Okay, Dustin, you guys are bringing the questions. I love it. Dustin, were you guys surprised by the lack of production from Jenkins last year? I hope he bounces back this year, but he was on the ground and bullied a lot last year.
It was a relatively disappointing season from Chris Jenkins. I mean, he's someone that graded well for us in our system. Definitely not in that first round tier, but we think the value was pretty appropriate with where he was selected. But one thing Andrew and I will always point out is that he was never billed to be a pass rusher from the interior defensive line. His college profile showed us that he was a good athlete who was really strong against the run. And it obviously takes time for players in the NFL to acclimate to the new speed of the game and get their play strength up. So we're not trying to make excuses for him as a player. Obviously, you'd like to see him take a step forward. But if you're ever expecting Chris Jenkins to be the kind of guy that contributes more than 5 to 7 sacks and is that type of player, I think you're projecting him to be a player he's not. And if he can be your third defensive tackle, someone that's really strong against the run and at least offers some average pass rush skills, that's what he was billed to be. And I think if the team drafts a Walter Nolan in the first round, for example, he's a great player, Chris Jenkins is, to have on the roster. And his role is a lot more defined and it's much better suited to his skill set.
Yeah, I just remember him just hitting the running back and the quarterback. I can't remember who it was. I think it was running back in that hole, the Carolina game. Just, bow, just freaking drilled him. I'm like, that's what I want. And that play right there still gets me excited that, he can do that. But that's where I go back. If you get Walter Nolan, that takes snaps off of BJ and Chris Jenkins. So to me, not that Nolan's going to take all the snaps, but the more of a rotation you have there, I think the better for the defensive line. That's just because I keep saying this. That's what we had when we went to the Super Bowl. We had Larry O, DJ, and BJ. That was, the kind of the rotation there, and that's kind of what we get if we get Nolan back again. But I know I keep saying Nolan, but I'm probably gonna be freaking wrong, and he'll go to somebody else like the fucking sucky Niners, who I hate. Yes, Stranger is back on the Scatterboo thing. He said, "Look at the problems Mixon, not pass blocking, caused like tipping our play." Yeah, well, we had Mixon and we still went to the Super Bowl and went to the AFC Championship game as our primary running back. So, yes, you are correct, but we did okay with him as our primary running back. So we'll see. So where are you guys? Are you guys planning on doing anything draft night? I mean, everybody's live streaming or doing something. Are you guys just gonna be chilling at your house watching, see where the chips fall and just tweeting stuff out?
Yeah, I think we don't claim to be Bengals insiders, so probably won't open up anything of that nature. We don't have any inside sources at this point. It's all our grades, our process is done, and now we're just waiting to see which teams kind of follow that production athleticism process and how do they pan out. That's largely what we like to do. I think our evaluations are done at this point. Might join some live podcasts, but some live streams. Unlikely to open up our own, maybe a Spaces post Bengals pick or something to discuss. But we like to view ourselves a little bit more holistically with the NFL than just claiming to have any insider Bengals knowledge above what the fan base has here. We can look at the profiles. Like we have all that data going back, see what they like, but we can't claim to know anything about what's going on inside that building.
Yeah, I just claim to have fun on and drink beer while on doing the draft. So that's all I want to do. Robert, but I will be doing a live podcast before the draft. What's good, Iceman, Ryan, Andrew, chat? Care to give out late round picks we should look to see the Bengals draft? Late round picks. Well, it's like, let's go 4th, 5th, 6th. Where are you guys looking at late round? Do you think the Bengals might be in their target area?
Yeah, some of this. Oh, go ahead, Andrew.
I was going to say one name. I think when you look at the Bengals, one thing we have noticed is they're not typically picking fallers when they fall. I think their board kind of, if I were to guess, cuts off at 100 or 125 players, and they have their guys they like, and if they're still there, they'll take them. So I think you should look for guys that are a little under the radar that they had visits with. R.J. Mickens is my bet. I think free safety from Clemson. I could see them picking him round 5, round 6. So that would be the bet I would make if I were to take a late round guy that I think makes sense.
Ryan, what do you got?
Yeah, just to throw a couple names out there too. I don't know if the team has met with either of them, but Logan Brown is an offensive tackle out of Kansas that really impressed us throughout this cycle. He's Matt Lee-esque in the sense that someone who's not very high on the consensus media radar, but is a good athlete, has really good production in college, and if that's the extra offensive lineman any team, but specifically the Bengals, want to draft on day 3, that's something we'd be absolutely thrilled with. And then I know cornerback isn't necessarily a need for this team, but the Bengals don't shy away from adding to that secondary. And although he's a little bit older, Zoff Frazier out of the University of Texas, San Antonio is someone that really impressed Andrew and I as we were going through our grades. And it's yet again another player that we keep coming back to who we're much higher on than the consensus media. So if they want to take a late dip at a player who they can get for the next 4 years just to fill out the back end of that corner room, Zoff Frazier is the guy that we would definitely plant our flag on for that one.
Yeah, I've said this. I don't necessarily think cornerback is in the future for the Bengals for this draft, but I'll never say never because the Bengals love cornerbacks. And if there's one there that they got ranked high enough, they will take them. And which I'm not against that. I mean, I think – and I'm not saying our cornerback room is set. It's just there's other needs and that are higher priorities, I think, in this draft. So, but like I said, I would not shock me if they take a cornerback in late rounds there. Dustin, Ryan, Andrew, since you started this in 2020, what is a player you said was a sleeper and ended up great? And what player did you whiff on? Love your guys' work.
Oh, appreciate that, Dustin. Let's start out with one to humble ourselves a little bit. There was an edge rusher from Houston. Derek Parrish was his name. And he was phenomenal production, tested like a great athlete. This was, I believe it was the 2022 draft, Ryan. Correct me if I'm wrong, maybe 2023. But he had tiny hands and incredibly short arms. And at that time, we did not use either of those things in our process. We just looked at the pure relative athletic score, which had him really high. And when you add in that stuff, he would have graded much lower for us. We've added that in this year. But, yeah, he was a complete flop. I think, Ryan, he's playing in your neck of the woods now up in Canada. But that was a miss.
CFL. Yeah.
I think you
put respect on that, Andrew.
Yeah, no. I will say Derek Parrish is an edge rusher for the Toronto Argonauts right now, and I think he was top 10 in the CFL in sacks. He came away with 6 sacks in the games he played, and despite him being one of our bigger misses, he was still drafted. He was the 240th overall pick in the 2023 draft. So, yeah, definitely a good one to humble us on. Absolutely.
You got a winner for us, Ryan?
Which one did you nail? You got one you just absolutely nailed.
One of the first ones that comes to mind is Milton Williams. I think as time has gone on, people have sort of realized the potential that we saw early on. Anyone in the audience can fact check us. All of our previous year's boards are available, but he graded as one of the highest interior defensive linemen we've graded since 2020, even when we go back and reevaluate our process and look at what we can do better. And I'm pretty confident, Andrew, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but we had a solid first round grade on him. And when he fell to Philadelphia in that 3rd round, we knew that, especially with the landing spot, that was going to be someone who would blow the league away. And I think with the contract he just got from New England, you saw that the league views him as an elite pass rusher from that interior defensive line spot. So that's definitely one of the ones that we're most proud of. But I think on both sides of the coin, some that were worked out really well for us and others that didn't work out as well so much. We're no guys that are going to shy away from our misses, and we love to celebrate our wins as well. But like I said, everything's public. Anyone can go back and fact check us.
It's the
that,
draft.
so.
You're gonna get some right. You're gonna get some wrong. That's why it's called the freaking draft. It's like a lottery pick.
That's why you need darts. You need to throw more darts.
Exactly.
You can kind of educate yourself on the process, but there's so much that goes into it.
It's a lot. So who do you think you guys have ranked higher in this draft this year than most people do?
I think Ryan mentioned a big one, right? Logan Brown has a near first-round grade for us. We would that continues to be the pick I would be most excited by. I just think it would be a tremendous add. He's really high on our list. We have Armin Membu from Mizzou. He's the number one player on our board.
Right.
We think he is an absolute star. He's the only guy we gave a blue chip grade to. So I think he's tremendous as well. Will Campbell we're higher on even than consensus. If we want to use some bigger names that are up the top of the draft, I think those linemen are going to be real stars in the NFL. So we'll stick to the top of the draft there. I don't know, Ryan, if you have other names that come to mind. I feel pretty good about our offensive line evaluations.
Yeah, a couple others that when you look at consensus, I think we might be the highest on in the industry. One is Jared Wilson, the interior offensive lineman out of the University of Georgia. He grades as a top 10 player for us, but I think that we're in consensus. He's around 76. Another name that we're really high on compared to consensus is Torrey Horton, the wide receiver out of Colorado State. We don't get to talk too much about wide receivers, just given that it's a really strange class this year. And when we do Bengals specific things, it's not really coming up. And then the last name I'll throw out there is Jordan Hancock, the safety/slot cornerback out of Ohio State. He's a great player that even though he was on that really good Ohio State defense that might have a handful of players drafted this year and even more taken in the following years, he really impressed us. And if you're a team looking for a slot corner, that's a guy that, we're pretty darn confident in.
All right, speaking of Ohio State, where do you guys got JTT and Jack Sawyer? Where do you think they're going to go? What round are they in?
JTT mid-round 2. Really like his profile. I think he profiles as a really solid starter in the NFL. Wouldn't expect him to become a star, but he's going to start for 10 years. Jack Sawyer is round 3 for us. No athletic testing from him, which is really hard. When you see a guy on the field that doesn't look super athletic, that's not the way he wins. And then he also chooses not to test and has some of the shortest arms in the history of edge rushers. There's just yeah, you're reminded of the T-Rex, I think, from Meet the Robinsons. I don't know if Disney fans are familiar.
I know that. My arms are too big in my head.
Yeah, basically.
I got kids. I saw that.
Right. But yeah, he's more of a third round guy for us. So JTT over Sawyer.
All right, got a couple more, and then I'll get you guys out of here. Hunter, do you guys think the Bengals are out on CTB? I don't. I think they're planning on him bouncing back this year. What's your guys' thoughts?
No, definitely not. I mean, I think there's still a lot you can get excited about for all of the young corners in that room, whether it's CTB, whether it's DJ Turner. Not to sort of take over the conversation on that piece, but one thing that Andrew and I are really confused about is the idea of moving Josh Newton into the slot, at least right now, as that primary slot corner.
I like that idea. I've been saying that for a while.
No. What we'll say is that's likely where he ends up in his career. But you took a player in Dax Hill in the first round that had over 900 snaps in his college career at slot corner. And obviously the injury took away from some of his early years in the NFL. But you tried him at outside corner. You tried him at free safety. It's a really great idea to use players at the positions they played in college when you draft them. So it's a bit confusing to us why he's not primed for that new role with Mike Hilton no longer on the roster. But that's a conversation for a different day. We're kind of locked in on the draft right now, but just thought we'd get that out there.
No, you're good. I mean,
about it.
I am for it. And to me, we talk about this. The reason that Dax, I thought Dax looked really good outside last year, and he's coming into his 5th-year option. He's a first-round pick. You usually you don't pay slot corners that much money. So money-wise, they won on the outside. But as far as I know, Dax participated fully in practice yesterday. He's sore. obviously, but back. So that's back today. So that's a good sign. So he is practicing. So we'll see. I mean, and it takes a little while for cornerbacks to get back from knee injury. We'll see what happens. But I'm a big Newton fan. I love Fig. He impressed the hell out of me last year. So I was saying that at the end of last year. And I love Mike Hilton, but I think Newton could be the replacement, as long as Dax can be fully healthy and come back. Which you still got Turner and you got CTB. So if Dax isn't completely ready, you put those two on the outside and Newton on the inside till Dax is completely healthy. But we'll see. Let's see here. One more from Dustin, and we'll get out of here. I heard a crazy stat from Renner today. Will Lumpkin has a longer wingspan than Will Campbell. Gotta love the measurables. That's gotta be like a condor.
Willie Lampkin, yeah, he's a 5'11" guard from North Carolina. It is crazy.
Yeah,
I agree with that. I don't.
Do you think anybody's going to draft him? I mean, I think he's going to get a shot. I think he might be undrafted.
How early do you draft a sixth offensive lineman that you're going to use in short yardage situations? I could see a team like the Bills, who loved rolling out a 6'0" lineman last year, liking Lampkin. I don't think you can start him as one of your top five.
But he's going to get a shot. I think more
he'd serve a purpose.
Yeah. I think he's more unrestricted free agent, but I think he's going to get a shot. All right, boys. By this time tomorrow, we will be about an hour and a half away from the draft starting. I can't freaking wait. Again, plug some stuff for you, let you go. And always, I appreciate you guys coming on. You guys do a great job, and it's always fun talking to you. So plug some stuff before I let you go.
Yeah, Jeff, no, thank you so much again for having us on. We know that the day before the draft is always exciting, and we appreciate you having us be the ones to chat about it. But you can find all of our work over on X at Gridiron Grading. Like we said earlier in the show, on Monday this past week, we released our Google Sheet Big Board. That's free. That's available for everyone. Please absolutely do check that out. If you want something new and maybe something a little bit more exciting, we released a web app that you can filter for all kinds of things. That's going to be available on our Patreon at gridiron_grading. That said, even though it's on Patreon, it is absolutely free. It just seems to be the best way that we can share some of that extra content with y'all. So yeah, X and Patreon at Gridiron Grading. We're going to be tweeting all throughout the draft. We're going to be tweeting all throughout the off season. So yeah, absolutely find our content there.
Well, I appreciate you guys, and Andrew, I appreciate you not being a robot, but just gotta say the fit today is with the beard and the suit. You look on point today.
I appreciate it. You got to be adaptable.
Gotta tell you that. Right, he's making us look bad, but that's okay. He's got the model.
I mean, he definally brings the brains and the looks. I'm not sure why I'm here, but no, we're grateful to have Andrew over.
You're gonna make
He's
me
a good
blush.
asset.
All right, boys. I appreciate it. Hey, I'll get you back on to get some time soon. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
See ya.
Perfect. See you, Jeff.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Go follow Gridiron Grading. They're great guys. I like giving Andrew shit. He's a good-looking dude. But yeah, so tomorrow night is the draft. Again, I will be at MLT's. Bengals trivia starts at 6. We will be giving away a Jamar Chase. I don't know if we're giving away the Chase jersey during the trivia. It might be more like in the draft, or we'll draw some names that have. But I think the Miller Lite swag, the Chase t-shirt, that's probably more stuff we'll give away during the trivia. But get there at 6 for the trivia. I'll be hosting the trivia, and then the podcast starts at 7 o'clock. We have Bengals safety Tyson Anderson on. And did I spell his name wrong again? Is that the one he keeps getting on me because I keep spelling his freaking name wrong? I think that's TYC. I think that's what he spelled right. I'm so confused which way he spells his name. I think that Tyson, if you're watching, I'm sorry. I'm illiterate. But join us 7 o'clock tomorrow night. Tyson Anderson for Bengals to be on. Bengals legend David Fulcher be on. Hey, Harrison comedian said he might be there, so Harrison might show up. Got Joe Farsing, the draft professor is going to stop by. I got a loaded show. We're going to have a whole bunch of people on for that hour. We're talking nothing but draft, and then stay there, hang out. We'll be giving away probably the Jamar Chase jersey during the draft. I also have 2 tickets from the Logan Wilson Celebrity Softball tournament to give away. I'll be drawing one name out there, and so you get 2 tickets for that. There it is. There's a graphic. thought I had the graphic. I couldn't see it. There it is. Logan, I don't know. I couldn't see. But there's the graphic for the Logan Wilson. My thanks to them for giving me the opportunity to give the tickets away. It is awesome. It goes to a great event. Great charity. We're less than 24 hours. I think we're less than about an hour and a half from this time tomorrow night. We will be getting ready for the draft. The Bengals have got to get this right. And that's one of the reasons why I don't think they're going to trade up or trade back, because they have to get I won't say all 6 of these picks right. They have to get at least 3 of them. And if they get Nolan and Ratledge, I will be ecstatic. And then you come back with a linebacker in the 3rd round, and then maybe an edge in the 4th. That will be a perfect, I won't say perfect draft, but that would be a perfect draft for me for this year for the Bengals. That's what they got to do. Then come back and hopefully in a week or 2 and tell us that Trey Hendrickson is signed. That would be awesome. But this is the fun thing about the draft. It's a lottery pick. You're trying to find out, see if you know more than everybody else. And like I said, I hope the Bengals know more than I do. But I hope they do what I said. Nolan, Rutledge, but we'll see if they're there. All right, boys and girls, thanks for watching. I've been a live streaming on ZTV, YouTube, Facebook, X, Twitch. You can follow me on all those, along with Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. Shout out to the sponsors of the show. There is Follow Your Priority Lawn and Landscaping. If you want to get your grass cut, your flower beds cleaned out, get some nice edging along the sidewalk, around the flower beds, get some shrubbery trimmed up or planted, whatever you want with lawn and landscaping, think Priority Lawn and Landscaping. Give them a call at 513-430-6114. That's 513-430-6114. You can also follow them on Facebook. Also, shout out to T Properties, quality housing for quality people. Check out the website at www.tpropertiesllc.com for all your rental property management needs and your rental needs. And Meyer Door and Windows and more. Check them out at MeyerCincinnati.com for all your window and door needs. I got it in my house. I highly recommend you get them in yours. One more thing I want to say before we get out of here. I'm going to have tomorrow. I have 2 shows tomorrow. I really didn't want to have 2 shows tomorrow because I got to get ready for the draft, but I'm going to have 2 because I have an opportunity to have John Sadak, Reds announcer, TV announcer, on the show tomorrow at noon. So I got to tell you, I got 672 people watching. If you're watching on Twitter, you're watching on Facebook, whatever you're watching on, go to the YouTube channel and subscribe, because that's how you'll find out when I'm going live when it's not 5:30. So I got 2 shows tomorrow night. 1 at noon with John Sadak with the Reds, and then the regular show is not going to be at 5:30. It's going to be at 7. So again, if you subscribe, it'll give you the notification. So go to Sports Strawberry Ice on YouTube, subscribe to the channel there, and then you don't have to worry about it. It will just tell you when you are when I'm going live. The Reds won today 5-2. They didn't win the series. They're off tomorrow, so Sadak could be on. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Remember, remember, Houday for life, and throw it up. That's just sports, baby. See ya!
Weekend nights, the city roars. Tune in loud, turn up some more. Cincinnati show, it's time to play. Sports with strawberry ice today. 5:30 sharp, don't be late. CTV, the sports awaits. Strawberry ices on the mic, energy, it's pure delight. Every touchdown, every goal. Feel the pulse, it's in your soul. Cincinnati heartbeats strong. Strawberry ice will lead the throng. Every touchdown, every goal. Feel the pulse, it's in your soul. Cincinnati heartbeats strong. Strawberry ice will lead the throng. Feel the crowd, it's electric now. Shouting loud, they all know how. CTV got what we crave. Sports with ice, it's waves and waves. Tigers strike and Bengals roar. Every game we want some more. Tune it in and feel the thrill. Strawberry ice, he's giving chills. 5:30 sharp, don't be late. light.